So I'd like to talk to you now about in the laboratory how it is that we actually measure the bit error rate, and that uses a bit error rate, of course, is the acronym BER, and it uses a bit error rate tester. We could have a dedicated hardware for this, or we could have some hardware that we use to create the equivalent of a dedicated system. So in a bit error rate tester, we have first a clock source, which sets our transmission rate. And we have a pattern generator, which generates the sequence of logical zeros and ones, and outputs an analog signal, an electrical signal, which has something that approximates the ideal rectangular pulse. But of course, this is real hardware, and it's not going to be perfect, infinite rise time, etc. Then we put it into some system under test, the system that we want to measure the bit error rate of. So we're giving it bits, it's producing a signal at the end, and we're putting it into our error detector. So the system under test would have made its bit decisions, put out the bit decisions, and in our detector we're comparing it. It also has synchronization with the clock. It knows what the bits were that were generated, and it says, okay, did I make an error or not? So this pattern generator generates what we call a pseudo-random pseudo-random binary sequence. It's a pseudo-random noise generator, and you know, there's a separate set of videos about PRBSs and their characteristics. It's not really random, but it looks random. So it's a deterministic, very, very long sequence that we sort of feel that models what random data would look like. But the important thing is, in a bit error rate tester, there is this back channel, so that the transmitter and at the end of the receiver, we know what the data was sent. And because we know what data was sent, we can count errors. Now, in the eye diagram, let's go back to what we saw previously. We could use this in our bit error rate tester. Now, I'm talking about the dedicated equipment that's used to test bit error rates. They don't know necessarily where the decision process was being made. They just know that it's using the standard receiver. It's going to use a standard sample and then threshold. So suppose that we come, let me go back. The system under test, it doesn't put out the actual decisions, but what it puts out is the test statistic, basically. But the test statistic z of t, little t, so the function of time, and now my bit error rate tester has the challenge of doing the actual decision process. And how does it do that? Well, it doesn't know where is the maximal eye opening. Like, here's the eye diagram. We know that we should be sampling at exactly this time, but it doesn't have this information. And so what it does is it actually sort of sweeps the timing. So it doesn't know where the eye opening is, so it tries different sampling times. And what it does is it just counts the errors for that sampling time. And it counts the errors, and it sets some, minimum bit error rate that it's trying to meet. So this lowish bit error rate, it says when I put it at this point, like minus 100, I was way over here on the side, I didn't meet that bit error rate. The bit error rate was terrible because I was way over here where it was actually close. And it just steps through and tries different sampling times. The same is true of the threshold. It's not sure about the distortion, the noise, where the means are. So instead, it just sweeps through the two. And it creates this sort of region where if I use a threshold here, a threshold here, or sampling time here, I'm going to meet this low bit error rate requirement. And of course, it can iterate and now try it for an even lower bit error rate. And it gets a smaller and smaller and smaller until it comes up with what it thinks is the optimal timing and threshold. And then it uses that to give us an estimate of the bit error rate. So again, bit error rate tester, dedicated equipment. It's got to know the pattern is generated, have the back channel to be able to do this error detection. Very expensive equipment. So this is not something that's always available. When we do our experiments, we're not going to have this dedicated unit, but we're going to do some offline processing where we can mimic this dedicated equipment. But even that is very expensive because we need a real-time oscilloscope to do that. So I'm going to talk also about some other metrics, which are not directly the bit error rate, that we can also use. We've got all kinds of metrics that we're trying to use to characterize our system. We've looked at eye diagrams, we've looked at histograms, talked about bit error rate, which is of course the gold standard. This is what we want to do. And now I'll talk about maybe one more. I said I'm going to show you one more, and the reason I'm going to show you one more because I'm going to break this requirement that I know what the data is. And what's expensive in terms of an error detector is this synchronization. In terms of using a real-time oscilloscope, it's having real-time values where we can sort of know what the data was transmitted. So the alternatives have got to abandon this and let me live without knowing what the data actually was that was transmitted. I can't count errors.